With this, officially, we're getting started with today's session. So, what are the great news and why it was very important for us to share this information with you? Well, this is because, as you know, Gemini originally had an additional cost. Um, it worked as an add-on for Google Workspace licenses, and you had to pay additional cost per each of those add-ons that you wanted to add to your domain. So the great news is that Google decided to change everything as of this January on 2025. They made the official announcement, letting us know that the add-on for Gemini will not be having an additional cost anymore. Instead, it will now be included as part of the Google Workspace license you currently have. So what does that mean exactly? It means that as of January 2025, all companies, all domains that has a Google Workspace license, they will be also having Gemini as part of their included tools. Of course, there will be a few differences, and that's what we are going to discuss today. That's the information I brought for you. And we will be going through a couple of examples and practice a little bit with how Gemini will help you on a daily basis on your daily tasks. Where you can find Gemini, how you can actually take advantage of that. So let me go ahead and get started with the information here. So first of all, it's very important we talk about security. So how does Gemini protect your data in the artificial intelligence era? So basically, it is very important, and this is something we emphasize a lot, and we focus on this, and this is something we always try to share with people, so you can share with your users as well. Because believe it or not, artificial intelligence is here, and it's here to stay. So if you do not provide with the correct tools to your teams, then you may get in troubles, because believe it or not, users are finding their way to start working with artificial intelligence, especially because artificial intelligence is everywhere. I mean, if you go on your social media, you'll find a lot of videos, a lot of information, a lot of different options available there in the market. And one of the big challenges we have is that a lot of them are actually free of charge. So of course, if you're a curious user and if you have people in your organization that's interested on starting with artificial intelligence because they know productivity will be boosted, they know that they can save a lot of time, and they see that it's easier for them to complete their task, of course they want to try it. So this is where we are supposed to play a very important role and explain our people, because most of the times we have seen a lot of mistakes that happen and people doing things that they were not supposed to do. But always it's related to not knowing, to not having the right knowledge on artificial intelligence. And security should be always a priority. So what does that mean? When we talk about Gemini for Google Workspace specifically, we say that everything that you have so far on your contract, where Google guarantees security and privacy as priority number one, uh, automatically will be applied to Gemini for Google Workspace as well. So if we want to know a little bit further, it means that your data is your data, because everything you do at a user level between the end user and Gemini for Google Workspace stays there. Nobody else in the organization will have access to that information. Whatever interactions I have with Gemini, not even my boss, not even the administrator of the domain, no one can actually have access to that information. So that's why my data is my data at the end. Your privacy is protected, of course, because that's priority number one for Google. Your data stays within Google Workspace. This is at a contract level. There's like a database inside your domain, inside your organization, that retains all different interactions. Of course, this is not a file that someone can actually open and read and see the information there to find out what people is interacting and what they are saying to Gemini. This is as I said, this is something that will not be accessible for anyone in the company. It's just there for legal purposes, that at the end it stays within the organization and your domain as Google Workspace. Of course, your content is not used for ad targeting, so you don't have to worry about it, because remember, at the end, everything is private. So whatever I do will not be related to ads I see online. Your data is not used by any other client. This is 100% guaranteed. and existing protections for your data is automatically applied. What does that mean specifically? Well, this is good news for IT departments or IT teams, because basically what it means is that whatever they have been doing related to DLP rules, to firewalls, to protections, to blocking, and disabling options or things like that, basically everything is applied automatically. Whatever you had already existing in your domain will be absorbed automatically by Gemini. So those are great news, because at the end of the day, we can say that all your interactions with Gemini stay within your organization. And one of the important things here to know is that Gemini will not be learning and will not be recording any of that information for learning purposes. It's important we make a pause here and we talk a little bit about different types of artificial intelligence available in the market right now. The most popular artificial intelligence there, it's the deep learning model. For example, when we talk about ChatGPT, or whenever we talk about Gemini in a free version, if you have a free account with a domain as @gmail.com, or if you have Copilot for free, or Meta AI, or you name it, because right now there are too many artificial intelligence there for free. And whenever it's free, at the end of the day, it's important you understand it's not 100% free, because whenever you use one of those artificial intelligence available there, those are deep learning models. What does that specifically mean? It means that actually all your information is recorded. Real humans will actually review and go over your information to understand that the artificial intelligence model is working properly. And one of our biggest concerns, I'll say, is the fact that whatever interaction you have with those free versions of artificial intelligence will make your information out of public domain, which is very important. We all know and understand clearly. For example, when we try to have those meetings, or like today, this is one of the easiest example I can give you. For this very specific session, before we started, I received several attempts and requests of read AI notes, like a automatic robot that's supposed to take notes on your meeting and give you a summary at the end. We have an internal policy within eSource Capital that we do not accept those bots to come in and join our meetings. And the reason why, it's because most of the users are actually having access to those with a free version. I mean, they're not paying anything at all. And what does that mean? It means that all they do, it's a deep learning model. So a couple of things when it comes to privacy. First of all, they are not even asking the rest of people in the meeting if they all agree for the bot to be taking notes, because if everyone is talking, they are being recorded automatically. That's the only way we can get to that summary at the end. So it's a violation to privacy, because they do not ask for permission to the rest of the people. And not only that, but think of what happens. What's the model they use, and how this data it's being analyzed? Where is that being stored? All those things we don't really know. Why? Because we're not paying anything for that. It's for free. So what if one of my employees in my organization is using one of those free bots for taking notes, and they are joining, for example, a meeting with the board of directors? Imagine what could be the risk, because then all that information, believe it or not, and without asking if you are okay or not with it, because whenever you started using it, automatically you agree to the terms and conditions. So all that information is becoming out of public domain. So that could be a big risk for the company. And as I said, with my experience training on this specific matter and subject, I have seen too many companies where employees are not really aware of this risk, and they are using tools for free. So that's why it's very important we de-escalate this information as soon as possible, and we'll let them know what will be the difference between using a deep learning model of artificial intelligence that's recording, learning, and making my information public, versus another option of the tool, such as Gemini for Google Workspace, that guarantees at a contract level your privacy and your security, because this is not a deep learning model, and instead, this is what they call generative AI. And the reason why they call it generative AI, it's because literally what it does is generates content based on context, based on information based on details you provide and based on a specific request you make to the tool. So whenever you make your request, that's how you get that information done. An important thing to adhere to security and privacy. Gemini for Google Workspace is the first enterprise-ready certified artificial intelligence assistant. So that means that if in your organization you have any type of certification such as ISO or SOC 123 or whatever you have, they are already in compliance. So that means that your certifications will not be affected whatsoever because Gemini complies with all of them already. And this is the first at enterprise level that contains everything ready for you. So those are very specific things and important subject that we need to discuss. Make sure your employees in your organization are working with Gemini, especially now, as we said, because you don't have to pay extra for an add-on of Gemini. And instead, based on those great news we received in January, the whole company will have Gemini access right now. Depending on the type of licenses, there will be a few differences. And that's exactly what we're talking about right now. So, how is Gemini helping you transform your productivity specifically? Well, you're going to start saving a lot of time compared to what you used to do. We have seen a couple of real life scenarios and examples in different companies we have been training lately. For example, people at marketing team, they can save instead of wasting, I don't know, a couple of weeks or at least 1 week just to develop a marketing campaign, for example. Now they can do it faster. They have a lot of information there. Gemini can go to the external world, to outside, check something online, what depending on your prompt, depending on the request you make. But at the end of the day, they will provide it with a lot of information that will make you work faster and boost your productivity, basically. There will be also improved quality of work, because I don't know if this ever happened to you, that sometimes you feel like kind of block the unfamous white page that we always have, and we don't really want to go there because we don't know where to start, what to say, or how to say it, even though you have a lot of information, even though probably you have a huge brief, but you don't know where to start or how to do it. Well, this is going to be improved quality of work because they can give you more information, they can give you more details. Gemini can help you creating better stuff, presentations, images, videos, many different things you can do with Gemini specifically. And of course, this will be automatically inspiring your creativity because, as I said, if you feel blocked or if you maybe go always through the same line, I mean, sometimes when I do a presentation, they already know that the presentation was done by me because it's always following the same line and the same type of images and the same colors and the same palette, the same design. So sometimes we need to boost a little bit our creativity and make things different. So Gemini will help you a lot with that as well. And of course, it will help you make better decisions because now, if you're analyzing data, if you're asking for a summary, if you, instead of wasting a lot of time reading too many files that you need to read before you attend a meeting, now you can have all that information summarized. You can ask specific details, you can ask specific questions, and Gemini will have that answer for you. So at the end, when you make a decision, you're going to make better decisions because you're more informed, you have a lot of information, you have a lot of background, and you can make it that faster. And of course, everything while keeping your data private and secure, which is top of the line for me, I will say. So talking a little bit about what includes and what type of licenses will be available out there. Okay, it's important we make a pause here because even though you have a business or enterprise license, as long as that's a starter level, then you're getting what you see on the left side of the screen. And what is that specifically? You have Gemini Artificial Intelligence Assistant in Gmail. So that will be integrated to your Gmail tool, which means that it can help you write emails. It can help you summarize emails as well. It can help you reply, create emails from scratch, a smart way of searching for emails as well, because now you can ask Gemini to find a specific email. So that will be integrated if you have a starter license, regardless if it's business or enterprise. Besides Gemini integrated to Gmail, you will also have the ability to chat with Gemini app. This is through the website. So you have to go to gemini.google.com. You'll see that it will identify you once you have logged into your account. and it will give you a welcome with the name of your domain or your organization, just as a reminder that you're in a safe environment. This chat will be limited because as what we read at the bottom of the left side of the screen, it says that what we have is Gemini app, which works based on Gemini 1.5 Flash version. So this is unable to analyze data. This is a limited version. I will say, if you want to call it that way, it's like a light version of Gemini because it does not have and does not include all functionality, but at least they have access to the website and they can have a conversational chat where they can ask for information, they can generate images, they can check a lot of the, different things. And last but not least, they will also have the ability to enable the Notebook LM tool. This is a artificial intelligence-based research assistant. And of course, don't worry, because we'll go through a few examples of everything we're just discussing right now, so you can have a clear view on what they will have. So remember, what we see on the left side of the screen is what people will have whenever they have a business or enterprise account at starter level. Now let's move to the right side of the screen. What if I have business or enterprise, but in our company, we either have standard or plus? Okay, so things will change a little bit here. Because now, if we talk a little bit about where Gemini will be integrated with my Google Workspace tools, I will say with all of them. It will be integrated with Gmail. It will be integrated with Docs, with Drive, with Google Sheets, with Slides, Google Meet, everywhere. So every single app within Google Workspace will have at least something with Gemini that you can take advantage of. So it can help you write, it can help you organize, it can help you create, it can improve the quality of your video conferencing call. It can help you in Drive to analyze files, to make a summary, to understand or to compare files. So you can see that there's going to be a Gemini icon, the star, integrated everywhere in your Gmail, your Docs, your Sheets, your Drive, your Slides, everywhere. Now, when we talk a little bit about the chat that you have with artificial intelligence, this will be enhanced because in this case, it will be what they call Gemini Advanced, which works based on Gemini 1.5 Pro. This is a better version of Gemini that has a lot of capabilities. This one includes the capability of analyzing data, creating charts out of that data, or just giving you a final summary and analysis so you can have that information easier and faster. And also, the Gemini Advanced includes the power to start creating your own artificial intelligence agents that they call GEMs. Of course, we're going to go over that as well with a few examples. And last but not least, they also offer you the capability of adding Notebook LM, but this time it will be a plus version of it. So it has a couple of differences between the basic version of Notebook LM. So at the end, we can say that if you have a business or enterprise account at standard or plus, then you do have access to the whole universe of Gemini for Google Workspace specifically. And one of the important questions to answer here, because a lot of administrators and especially IT departments have this question, is can I enable or disable Gemini for my users in my organization? The answer is this is available only with enterprise accounts. So if your organization holds enterprise accounts, you do have the power to enable or disable Gemini for your users. Now, if you have business accounts, you do not have the power to enable or disable. Once the official announcement was made back in January, then all business accounts will include Gemini and users will have access to that. And you as an administrator do not have the power to disable that one. That will be only through enterprise licenses where you can make a decision to enable or disable for the whole company, or you can just disable or enable either or for groups or for specific organizational units based on your administrative console. Talking a little bit about Notebook LM, this is a language model that gives you a lot of power because instead of working as Gemini, a lot of people is usually asking us, should I use Gemini or should I work with Notebook LM? Which one is best? So the answer is there's no versus on this one. Actually, Notebook LM, it's a different type of tool. And just for you to know, it works based on Gemini. So actually, it's part of the same thing. The only thing that changes is the application, how Gemini it's been applied here. And the reason why, it's because Notebook LM was originally created to help students at educational level. But then they realized that this tool has a lot of power and a lot of things that they can help companies as well to improve. So they decided to launch Notebook LM for companies as well, instead of just educational institutions. So that's why we now have Notebook LM. But as the name says, pretty much the idea is that you have your own smart notebook where you can start taking notes. The benefit here is that you can feed Notebook with your resources. So you can say, okay, so I have files, I have PDFs, I have text, I have YouTube videos, I have many different options that you can actually upload as official sources of information. And whenever you start asking questions to Notebook, instead of going outside and looking for that information, you can be 100% sure that this is limited to search only within your sources, the ones that you provided and uploaded. So that means that you can start creating your own research and investigation tool based on your own sources, and you can ask questions via chat. There are many different tools that you can actually use within the notebook. And of course, don't worry, because we'll see an example as well of this. Now, talking a little bit about artificial intelligence will get us to the main point here, which is prompting. I don't know if you heard this, or I don't know if you heard about this too much already, but believe it or not, we would like to reinforce this because we are 100% sure that prompting is the key aspect, so you can actually take advantage of artificial intelligence. And believe it or not, this has been a huge challenge for users, because whenever Gemini was launched officially to production, after 6 months, more or less, being in production, Google decided to run a study just to find out what people was doing and if they were doing okay with prompting. And they found out that actually it was a shame, because people was not really taking advantage of this powerful tool they had in their hands. And they were creating prompts with 8 words or less in average. Imagine, what does that mean? It means that the answers they were getting, they were too generic. They were not really providing any help to users, and that was their biggest complaint. Their biggest complaint was, we are not getting the good answers from Gemini. So the reply from Google was that it is because you're not using the right prompt. So Google is making a big effort just to get to the point where you can include up to 1 million words per prompt. So imagine if they're giving you the power to include up to 1 million words per prompt, and you're using 8 words or less. Definitely, that's not going to work. It's not going to give you the right answer that you're looking for. And one of the key aspects we need to understand as end users is that whenever we're working with generative AI, the more details, the more information, the more specific we are, the better answers you'll get. So that means, and that leads us to understanding that whenever I'm creating a prompt, I'm building the prompt, I'm supposed to provide some sort of paragraph instead of just a simple sentence. As I said, the more details you provide, the more information you give, the better. That's the only way you can guarantee that you have the better answer here. So what are a couple of tips we can give you based on our own experience? Okay, you need to define a persona. So you need to say specifically, how is Gemini supposed to act? If you want Gemini to act as a psychologist, if you need to ask Gemini to act as an engineer, as whatever you need, you can just let them know based on your prompt. So you need to act like this and give me this information. Specify a format. This is very important. Why? For example, a couple of things that happened to me last week when I was training other companies. They were telling me, okay, Mario, so I asked these to Gemini, but based on the answer I just got, I don't see any tables, or I don't see any charts, or even flow chart, or whatever that could be that they needed. And my question for them was, okay, did you include that as your prompt? Did you let Gemini know that you needed a table or a chart or a flow chart or a list or whatever you needed? Did you say that to Gemini? And the answer was always no. So my reply to them is always the same. Gemini will not assume anything. Gemini will work based on your request, and your request is given to Gemini through the prompt. So prompting is the key aspect here. So if you need a specific format as your final answer, you need to be very specific and provide that information to Gemini. Provide examples. This is another excellent tip. So if you have a file that you can use as an example, remember that you have the power that you can upload files to Gemini Advanced, for example. And you can say, okay, so I'm uploading this file for you. Use it as an example, use it as a template, or the answer you give me should be specifically on this format. Or if instead of being an example, can be also a source of information. So I'm adding this file because it includes information that's important, and you should take notes on this, or whatever you think it's needed. But make sure you always provide examples whenever that's possible. Now, moving to the right-hand side of the screen, we have there like the structure of what we consider it's the minimum you need to include as part of a prompt. So it's always important that you say who will do it. So remember what I've been telling you, as the example here, what we see in yellow, act like an information security expert. So I'm letting them know exactly what I need, how Gemini is supposed to act. What information he or she is supposed to have in the brain. Because believe it or not, Gemini works very similar to a human brain. It has like a neuronal process as well, and a neuronal web inside. So if I'm letting them know up front that I want Gemini to act as an information security expert, then pretty much whatever Gemini is supposed to know at this point based on information security, Gemini will have it. So they will give me better results if I tell them this. The action, as what we learned back in school, the action is usually a verb. And we need to say, okay, so I want you to write, analyze, summarize, create, generate, whatever verb it's applicable to your request. It's always important you add it there, because that's the only way Gemini will understand what's the action you're asking here. For example, on this one, I'm saying you need to write, okay? Now let's move into the purpose. What answers do you want from Gemini? What we see in blue, 3 social media posts telling them about our new product. Okay, so I'm asking Gemini to act as an information security expert. That's number 1. Then I'm letting Gemini know that Gemini is supposed to give me 3 social media posts that I'll be using to provide information about a new product. So write and social media post. Then we need to define the audience. Who is it for? Who needs it? And who is involved? Because a lot of times people is complaining saying, okay, Mario, but this is not something I'll be sharing with others, or this is not something I'll be sending as an email, or not posting as something on social media. So what do I say when we talk about audience? Okay, think about audience as who is it for? Could be for me, could be for my coworkers, or the other questions that we say here, who needs it, or who is involved. So audience, we will always have audience, and it's important we include that here as well. And last but not least, we talk a little bit about expectations. How should Gemini respond to meet my expectations? So in this case, the example here in green says for use a formal tone. Oh, I'm sorry. The audience we were just talking about, I forgot to mention, it says for IT managers. Why for IT managers? Okay, because that's my audience here. I'm creating 3 social media posts. I'm talking about information security. And I'm just letting them know that we have a new product that we're about to release. Probably if they are interested in buying it, that's what we're trying to do. But it's different if I ask that to be shared with IT managers than if I say, okay, make sure that a 10-year-old boy can actually understand this post. Or totally opposite, I can say, make sure an 80-year-old can actually read this and understand what we're talking about. Now, if I ask Gemini to become an information security expert, and at the same time, I'm letting Gemini know that IT managers will be actually reading these posts, okay, so I'm pretty sure that they will start using technical language with more defined information that concerns them as IT managers specifically. And of course, as I said, the expectation, use a formal tone because they are not my friends, they are potential customers. So I want to use a formal tone. You can say friendly, you can say formal, you can say informal, or you can just specify a format as we discussed earlier on the tips as well. So you can say, I need a chart, I need a table, I need a flow chart, I need an image, I need I don't know, whatever you need, this is what you need to describe. So I need a letter, I need an essay, whatever you need, this is what you need to provide here as part of the expectations. So what Gemini is supposed to do and give you what, so you can feel satisfied with the result they're giving you, right? Okay, so that being said, and emphasizing about the prompting, I just want to close this by letting you know that at the beginning, as I said, Google created this study where they noticed that people was using 8 words or less, and that was a shame because they were just wasting the potential that the tool gave them. So after training people about prompting and letting them know that the more information, the more details, the more everything they provide, the better result they'll get. Pretty much things have started changing because 6 months later, Google did the same research again, the same study, and the result was just throwing them better numbers because now people is using as an average 22 words or more to create a prompt, which means that finally people was able to understand that whenever they're prompting, they are supposed to build paragraphs instead of simple sentences. And the more information they give, the better results they'll get. So this is very, very important. And believe it or not, this will give you the answer for too many questions you may have, because this is something that happens to me constantly over and over again in different sessions. People is asking me, okay, Mario, but could Gemini do this? Okay, the answer will always be the same. Uh, did you say that in your prompt? If you did, it's supposed to give you the answer. If you didn't, then that's the reason why it's not included there. Now, talking about what Gemini can do and cannot do, it's important we also say that as of now, and I'm talking about as of now because artificial intelligence is constantly evolving, enhancing, and making big changes. But as of now, a generative AI, which is the one that Gemini for Google Workspace uses, cannot have the power to automatize procedures. So what am I talking when I say that? Okay, a lot of people is giving prompts such as, okay, every Monday at 8 a.m., I want you to read the news about this subject, create a summary, and make sure you send it via email to all the board of directors. Assuming that because they did that prompt and Gemini say, okay, let me take care of this for you, they just remain seated, waiting, and nothing is happening, and they are complaining. So you need to understand that there's no way Gemini can create automated processes right now. As a generative AI, it will always need an interaction from a human being to complete whatever they need. So, I mean, as a human being, as a user, I can request Gemini to go and check this information in an external website and give me a summary. That's something that will perfectly happen. Then I have to transfer that summary into a Google Docs, and then I need to send it via email. But I can expect Gemini to do everything for me. Because sometimes people is confused because Gemini will give you an answer that make you feel like it's going to happen. So they remain seated waiting and nothing happens. So that's why I'm telling you up front, you need to be very clear with your people, with your users, with your employees, letting them know that so far generative AI needs a human person to control it. So I can ask, okay, create this summary. The summary is going to be there. Then I can transfer that into Google Docs, and then I can share a document with other users. But that's something I have to do. Gemini, you have to see Gemini as your personal assistant. But then you need to understand clearly that Gemini is not here to replace people. Cannot replace people. And it means we are not going to start firing people just because now we have Gemini. Because at the end, it's just to enhance user, give them more powerful tools, but cannot be replacing users. That's something very important we all know and understand. So let's go into a couple of examples here as practice. So let me share with you my screen with my Gmail account. So this is one of the first examples I have for you. I can actually compose a new email from scratch. And I want you to notice that once Gemini has been activated, at the bottom, I'll have a new button in case you didn't notice of it before. It's the small pencil with the Gemini star that says help me write. And literally, that's what it does. It helps you write an email. So what if you have an idea, you know what you need to convey as a message, but you don't have the right words, or you don't know where to start or how to do it? So let's say for this example, I want to write an email to notify all employees in my company, Esource Capital, about the recent hiring of a new CTO. So this is like great news. I want to share with the rest of the organization the great news that we just hired a new CTO, that he has a lot of experience because he used to work for Google before. He has a lot of experience that he will be sharing with us. And I also, as an important fact, I want to share with the organization that he has been recently awarded as the most innovative CTO in the world at the Google Next event 2023. And I want to close my prompt saying use an enthusiastic and emotional tone. So pretty much I'm saying a little bit of everything. Think of this as a general example, as basic information that I'm sharing with you, but think of it as other things you will add. Because at the end of the day, remember what we have been saying. Prompting is the key, and the more information and the more details you provide, the better results you get. So if you think you can improve my prompt, of course you can do it. So just add whatever other information you consider. This is just a very generic example here. But when I click on create, it will start creating that email for me. So instead of working from scratch, now I have a better option here, especially if I'm not really good at writing. I can have something here. Now I have a couple of buttons here that will allow me to recreate in case I didn't like this option, or I can refine. I can formalize, elaborate a little bit more, or totally opposite, I can shorten. Once I'm happy with the result, I can just click on insert. Of course, one of the most important things here to mention as well, besides prompting, is the fact that you need to let your employees know that at the end of the day, this is a personal assistant. They cannot see Gemini as anything else. It's just a personal assistant. And why is it important to emphasize on that? Because believe it or not, now people is just blaming on Gemini. So if I send this email and then I get a complaint because this is not the message that I was supposed to convey, some users are like, okay, I didn't do it. It was Gemini. So they need to understand that at the end of the day, if they did it through Gemini, it's their responsibility. It was them. So they cannot blame on Gemini. As a personal assistant, you always need to review the information that's provided to you by Gemini. And you need to be very critical about the results you're getting. So you need to analyze this information. You need to read it carefully. You need to go over the whole text, because at the end, if there's something wrong, it's going to be on you. You cannot blame Gemini. And that's very important for all of us to understand. So if I'm happy with this one, if I just don't want to replace anything because I think that this is okay so far, then I can just add my recipients, my subject, and go ahead and send it. If not, feel free to customize these, replace whatever you consider, or remove or add whatever you think you can do. Remember, this is just an idea for you not to start from scratch. So let's go ahead and delete this one here. Now, what if I have a chain of emails? I don't know if this ever happened to you. Even though this is in Spanish, for example, I can give you this as an example here. I want you to notice how as soon as I open this chain, I have the button here on top that suggests me to summarize this email. So instead of going all over through the different conversations we had and wasting a lot of time, I can just summarize this email. Or I can also open the right panel by just clicking on the Gemini star here on the top right corner. And it will also include the button to summarize this email. So I want you to notice how it will give me a prompt here that says provide a more detailed summary of this email by just clicking on the button here. I didn't have to write anything. I just press enter, and it's literally doing that. And even though the original email is in Spanish, since my whole account is in English, everything will be transferred automatically. So translated, as you can see. It will tell me that Mario asked for feedback on a specific option in Google Docs. Then Karel finds the pageless format more fluid. Victor sees it as a potential way of saving resources. Carla will appreciate the continuous flow. Ismail finds it useful and maintaining. So it gives me even an overall. And then you can ask here with additional buttons, what's the main topic of the email thread, for example. Or if you think you understand everything by just reading this summary, you can just click here something like, okay, what should I reply, for example? It's a question. Just hit enter. And since now they have all the context on what's going on this conversation, Gemini can actually help you building an answer. So this is your answer. Thanks all for the feedback. It's great to hear the different perspectives. I'm also finding it useful for long documents. Has anyone else noticed my other drawbacks, for example? Okay, so I can just click on reply. And if I'm happy with this answer, I can just click on insert. And then I'll have that answer inserted here so I can actually reply this email. Very easy, very fast. So instead of wasting a lot of time, a lot of things you can do with this one here. Now, one of the other benefits you have by getting Gemini as part of your Gmail is that you can use this as a search box tool as well. So in the past, I've heard a lot of complaints from users telling me that if they click here on top, sometimes it's really hard for them to find emails, that they don't have they don't know the connection words or the connectors that they are supposed to use. They don't know how to take advantage of that tool. Okay, in here, that complaint is no longer valid because instead of just using connectors or being specific, you can just describe this as a story. You can say, okay, I remember that around 6 months ago, I was discussing this subject with this person, and we were talking about this in this email. So if you can help me find this email, and then based on your story that you describe, that's how they will help you finding that email and giving you options on your screen. So that could be another option here, helping you find emails with the right panel as well. Now, moving forward, let's say, what if we go to mainly my drive? So this is a folder that I have in my drive. And I want you to notice that on top of the screen, it's already giving me a suggestion, summarize this folder. So if I click on this one, the right panel, again, it's open and automatically it's analyzing everything inside this folder, regardless if it's in Spanish or in English. It's just giving me a summary and it's giving me bullets per file. So it tells me that the first file is talking about this, the second file is talking about this other thing. So as you can see, I have information about every single file contained in this folder. And then I can continue asking more information. So I can say, show more suggestions, and they give me a couple of suggestions here. Or I can just type my question here. If you want to compare files, for example, that's something they can do as well. So you can just select two files, right-click on it, and say summarize these files, or you can ask specifically here, out of the two files I selected, can you just compare them and tell me the main differences, or can you consolidate one single version of it? I don't know, many different things that you can ask, but you have the right panel here in your drive as well. Now, if we want to go into Docs, of course, we can also do that, and it can help you write things on your Docs. For example, it happened to me a couple of months ago that my human resources manager approached me and said, like, Mario, since you're the trainer, can you help me creating a description of your position? I mean, we need a description of a trainer. And since you're the expert, why don't you help me creating that? I didn't know where to start or what to say or how to create a description of my position. So I just click here, help me write. And I said, okay, so I'm a trainer for Research Capital. This is what I do. This is my duties and daily responsibilities, and like the education, whatever I need to have, and just send it and ask, can you just create a job description for me on this? And the whole thing was created easily. I just had to read it. Of course, as I said, remember, it's always my responsibility, but this is easier for me to do. I don't know if you noticed, but as well here, besides giving you the power to to write something, it can also help you create something as well. So a lot of things that you can do once you start working with a new file. So you also have the option to add the add symbol, and you can say, help me write, for example, and the button will be displayed again. And the help me write comes with other options here as well. That's what I wanted to show you. Whenever you say help me write, you also have other buttons available, such as the one for templates. So you can also create a template instead of just helping you write. You can create a whole document. Let me show you a couple of examples here. So let's say help me write. And what happens if we paste here the same prompt that I had for Gmail? So if I say write an email to notify all employees, people will say, okay, Mario, but why are you doing this here on a document instead of going to Gmail? Okay, at the end of the day, I can do it whatever I prefer. One of the benefits I have of using the help me write option here in documents is that even though I'm not an expert on documents, Gemini can actually give me a better option here in solutions. So when I click on create, since they know we're talking about an email specifically, in case I was not even aware of it, they tell me, okay, Mario, so in documents, we have smart canvas that will help you build an email draft. So in case you were not aware, we're using smart canvas in your document as well. So they wrote the email for me, the one that I requested. And I still have the option here to add a couple of things in case I forgot to say something. I can also refine by shorten, elaborate, more formal, more casual, bulletize, summarize, or retry. And once I'm happy, I can just insert. Now, one of the benefits I get by having this email draft, let's say, for example, I just need to add my name. And then I have also smart chips. So I can replace those with real people. So I can say, send this email to Natalie, send a copy to, let's say, Ismail, and I want you to blind copy Karel, for example. Okay, so welcome, Karel. And then once I'm ready to send this email, I can just go ahead and click on the M here. And automatically everything that's in my document based on Smart Canvas functionality will be transferred to my Gmail, and it's ready to be sent as an email. Because now the recipient is already filled in with the smart chips that I selected. So everything is transferred here. I can go ahead and send this email. And after sending this email, I still have the power that I can keep this as a template and continue using this email, replace people on top, add more people, just remove if I don't need to send to anybody else here, and just click on the M and be able to reuse this email again. So this could be another option as well. So a lot of things you can do with the help me write. If we go into, why don't we go into Google Sheets, for example? Here, it is a very powerful tool because you do have the option to create something from scratch. Plus, you have the right panel as well. So either you can say, help me create a table, could be an option. You can also, instead, you can just click on the start here on the top right corner, and you can just describe with a prompt. Now, what can we do here in Google Sheets? Because that's usually a question they ask me a lot. Okay, in Google Sheets, you can ask for something to be created here. You can also ask for formulas. So if you're not an expert, you can just describe what you need to perform with this specific formula. So you can say something like, okay, I want you to create a formula that will analyze the top 5 sellers in the last 6 months, even though you have a lot of information from many years. So you can say, okay, use only the last 6 months and give me sellers that at least sold one product of this, for example. So most likely with that specific description, your formula will not be a simple formula, and instead it may need to add other formulas to the same, like a build formula, but still they have the power to do so, and they can give you buttons to just add the formula to a specific cell wherever you need it. An example here I have for you is, what if I want to create a marketing campaign that includes a budget table, and I have a product that I want to launch, and I only have 6 months for this marketing campaign. Okay, so I can enter on this one, and it will help me for me not to start from scratch by creating this marketing campaign. And instead of taking, I don't know, 1 or 2 weeks, I can have a table with the activities, with information. Remember that I was very generic with my request. If you are more, if you have a better prompt with more details, Of course, the better information you provide, the better result you'll get. But at least you have something to start. You don't have to start from scratch. Then you can just insert. And again, you have the power to add more columns, more rows, whatever you need to add here. That's something you can do as well. And you can continue asking for other things to happen on the right panel, as well as you can also create charts if you want, right? Now let's go into Gemini website. That could be a very powerful example. So either you click here on the 9 dots and select Gemini, or you just open a new web browser and click the address gemini.google.com. As you can see, it tells me here as a reminder that I'm inside Gemini for Users Capital Inc. Gives me a reminder on the top right corner that I started with my account, and tells me on top that this is Gemini Advanced. Now, what can I do here? You have the plus symbol that will allow you to upload images from your computer, files from your computer as well, or share files from your drive, either as example, either as a source of information, either as whatever you need. So let me give you an example here. So what if you have this file, the bank data file, right? So this is just giving me a lot of sales, but this is what we call raw information because it is not analyzed whatsoever. It will just give me the fiscal ID number for the executive, the name of the executive, the movement date, the type, the amount, and the branch. So as you see, I don't have a lot of details here about what can I do on this one. But still, if I need to analyze this information somehow, then I can just feel free to use this file and create a prompt for that. So I can go here, say, okay, let's go into my drive, my recent files, look for bank data. This is the one, insert, and I'll give my prompt. And my prompt will be to analyze sales and marketing data from the last 6 months, even though the file has more than 6 months, identify patterns and trends, and suggest 3 concrete strategies to increase revenue in the next quarter. And I'm also asking, taking advantage of Gemini, to create charts with the most important aspects. I'll just send this. So what happened here? I didn't even mention the structure of my file. I didn't say what columns were included with what type of information. Is that date? Is that money? Is that... I didn't say anything at all. So first of all, what they need to do is to start analyzing my data by creating a specific Python code. So it's like a query, so they can actually understand how my file is composed. And based on that information, they can complete the analysis and give me all the information I requested. So as you can see, they're giving me here the 3 strategies based on my request. And if I am interested on getting to see what they did to just understand my file, I can click on Show Code, and it will give me the whole Python query that was created just to understand my file. Now, if I don't really care about this, because I don't even work on coding, I can just hide the code, and I can have at least the rest of the answer for me. Now, remember what we say so far. We have been telling you that Gemini integrated to your Google Workspace tools, or even on a website version, as the one I'm showing you right now. We said that it does not record information, right? It's not learning from you, because this is just generative AI. So what happens whenever we get to the point where I do want Gemini to start learning from me to help me make my procedures a little bit faster? Okay, this is why people added gems. Google decided to give you gems on the left side of the screen. So there are a couple of pre-established gems that you can use: the brainstormer, the career guide, the coding partner, copy creator, hiring consultant, learning coach, many of them, as you can see, right? Now, still, even though you have a couple of pre-established gems, you have the power to say, I want to go into the gem manager, and you can start building your own gem. So clicking on new gem. What can you do here? First of all, add a name. So you can say, this is going to be my legal assistant, for example. So what if you get, I don't know, maybe between 90 to 100 contracts daily that you need to review and analyze and make sure that everything is okay. Okay, so that's wasting a lot of time from my daily basis. So I need a legal assistant to help me analyzing that. Okay, so I need to describe here with instructions, easy sentences, what this gem is supposed to do for me. So I can say, analyze contracts and share your red flags. Okay. And my second instruction could be suggest um, improvements for the contract. And I'm based in Guatemala, so I can say something like use uh, Guatemalan law updated to 2025. This is just a quick example. You can continue adding other sentences, more details, more information, more specific as to what type of result you're looking for this gem. So is that supposed to reply to you with a letter, with an email, with a table, with a chart, with whatever you want? Just make sure you add details here. Train the model with everything you consider necessary. And then, if you consider that your sentences are too simple and not really conveying the message in the proper way, you can just click on the Smart Assistant here, and it will rewrite everything you described, but with more context and with more structure, as you can see. So based on my initial inquiry, now they are saying when you go through the contract analysis part, what are they supposed to do? The legal information, the disclaimer, the overall tone. So if I'm happy with the answer, I can just keep it as it is. I can add more details. I can remove something, replace, whatever you want. And here at the bottom where it says knowledge, you have the power that you can upload files from your computer, from your drive. Again, either to use those as sources of information or to use as templates or to use as whatever you want, and just make sure you describe it as part of the instructions. So I added this file. I want you to use it as a template of contracts, and every contract that I have, it's supposed to be on this format, so use it as a template. Or I can say something like, I'm uploading a PDF with the law for this specific matter, so make sure you may that the contract is compared with this law, and tell me if it has compliance or not. So whatever you need to do, you can just add files here. Once your gem is ready, all you have to do is click save. And now you can start chat with that gem. And it will stay here on the left side of the screen. You can go back to new chat just to work with Gemini Advanced. And whenever you want the gem, you just click on the gem and you're ready to start working with the gem as well. Now you can click on the three dots. If after using that for a few days, you need to modify it a little bit, you can go into edit and you can just add more instructions, replace something, change something in case you don't like the way it's giving you an answer right now. Click on update, and that's the way you can keep your gems updated as well. Now, last but not least, even though we're a little bit past the time we have scheduled, I don't want to let you go without checking Notebook. I think this is a very powerful tool. So what do you need to do? We need to go into notebooklm.google.com. Now, a couple of differences here that I mentioned earlier. Remember, if you have a starter license, then you have a notebook. You cannot share those notebooks with other users at a chat level. I'm going to explain you what does that mean. And also you have the power to create notebooks with 50 sources of information. Now, whenever you have a Notebook Plus, as you can see, it will give you a difference here telling you you're in a Notebook Plus. And the main differences will be that you can add up to 300 sources per notebook. 300 sources, and also you can share with other users inside your company. Notebooks cannot be shared externally, but you can share the notebook with users inside your company. But you can say, I'll be the administrator of the notebook. So what I'm sharing with others is only the chat. So they can only chat and get information out of my sources, but they cannot play with the sources. They cannot do anything else to the notebook. That would be another benefit of having the plus version of it. So why don't we go ahead and create a new notebook just to give you an example here. So create new. This is what we see. This is the layout for a notebook. So on the left side of the screen, I'll have all my sources. In the center, my chat portion, and on the right hand, a couple of additional tools that I can use. So for example, I need to start adding sources. What type of sources can I add? Okay, I can upload sources from my computer. Those could be either PDFs, plain text, Markdown, or audio in MP3. Those are the files I can upload from my computer. Nothing else. No Excel, no images, no presentations, no nothing. Those are the only files you can upload. Now, if I'm sharing from my drive, I can use Google Docs. That could be an option. Or Google Slides. Those are the only two. Again, no Google Sheets, no anything else. Just the files that you see here. And if I want to add links, either link for a website. You need to make sure that the website has public access, because if it's like blocked, then basically by the time Gemini is trying to connect to that website to extract information, Gemini may not be allowed to do so, and then it will fail as a search. So you need to make sure it's an open website. And you can also upload YouTube videos. Just share the link of the YouTube video here, and that's it. That's all you need. If you don't have a file, but you have text, maybe plain text, you can just copy and paste the text here, and it will become a source. And I want you to notice that because I have my Notebook Plus, this is telling me that I have 0 sources from 300. That's my maximum in this case. So what if I want to share maybe I'm concerned about health and well-being in my company, in my organization. So let's say if I have a video, maybe this is a YouTube video that I saw and I think it's okay, health and well-being in workplace. Okay, so I can copy this link. I can use it as a source of information. Click here on YouTube, paste the link, insert, and this will be becoming my first source of information. So as you can see, what Notebook is doing is extracting all the information from the video as text. So we can say that's transcribing pretty much the video. And now I can start asking things here, because as you notice, I can just click here and start typing, and I can start asking questions about the video. Okay, so what recommendations you have for me? What can we do? How can I improve my wellness? Many different things that you can start asking related to the video. But that's not it. We can add more sources of information. So in case I have, I don't know, maybe this Wikipedia website, for example, that also talks about workplace wellness. Okay, so I can also copy this link. I can go into my Notebook website, and I'll paste the link here as well. That will be my second source of information. What if I have a document? Okay, maybe I have this document in my drive. That's also talking about the power of well-being, cultivating a thriving workplace in 2025. Okay, this is nice for me as well. So I go back in here, add another source. This time it will be a Google Docs, and then I can ask for this one here, insert. So as you can see, there are 3 different sources of information now that were added to my notebook, and I have the power to start asking questions here. If I don't even know what to ask, my notebook is already giving me a couple of questions here, suggested questions. For example, this one here that says, what strategies can be implemented to promote healthier, happier, and more productive work lives? For example, I can select this question. As you can see, it's been asked, and this is the answer I got. And as you notice, it's giving me reference. So for example, this is in file number 1. This is in file number 2. Or it's just giving me reference to where the information was provided from. So I can actually go into the original source with that answer as well. So this is what people can do. They can start asking questions, but they know for sure that this information provided here will be based only on the sources that I provided here on the left side of the screen. I need to ask a question, and that question, I don't want to use all the sources. Okay, so I can just disable based on the checkboxes. So I don't want to use this one for this answer, or I don't want to use this other one either. Just this one here, just the video, for example. So you can select or deselect whatever you prefer. You forgot what the video is talking about. Okay, you can click over the name of the video, and it can give you a summary here on the left side of the screen with buttons so you can navigate through the content. So health, well-being, workplace, choices, productivity can give you buttons for direct access. And you can have a summary here at the bottom of the screen. No, I forgot what the Wikipedia website was talking about. Okay, click on it. The same thing happens. We'll give you a summary with a specific button so you can go over specific subjects in this information here. Now, one of the benefits that we have on the right side of the screen is that we have notes. So I can create a note with an answer I got from chat, or I can also take advantage of the buttons that were created here. So I can either create a study guide, a briefing document, an FAQ. So what will be like the FAQs for this? I just click on this one, and automatically a new note is being generated with artificial intelligence. They can read the 3 sources of information and create this note just to provide me the FAQs. Every single question that they added here, they're giving me the answer already. So I can actually download these and share with others and just send them as a document, for example. I can create a timeline if there are dates. But one of the most powerful tools is what we see here on top. We can create a deep dive conversation. This is very similar to a podcast episode by just clicking on generate, or you can customize. You can add specific emphasis on a specific subject or matter here. You can just describe whatever you want them to discuss. And then whenever you click on generate, as you can see, audio will be generated based on the sources of information you have here. So it's a man and a girl talking about the sources that you added here. Those are not real people because it's voice generated with artificial intelligence. Usually it takes between 10 to 15 minutes per episode, and they will provide you all the details here. And one of the benefits you have, I won't be able to show this because this is going to take a little bit. Takes like around 5 to 10 minutes just to generate the audio. Once it is generated, you can download it, you can share with others, many different things you can do with the audio. But the best of it is that people can just hear this episode and they'll be able to understand everything that's described on the documents because they create a summary. And one of the benefits you have with this podcast option here is that now you can interact as well, which means if you want to, you can actually open, you can start playing the audio. And while the audio is playing, you can click on the button that says interact, and it will open your microphone and it will allow you to interact. So they say, okay, it seems like Mario has a question for us, and they stay quiet. So I can say, okay, yes, I do have a question. I wanted to ask you about this or this other or whatever. It takes a couple of seconds for them to think about the question I just asked, and then they will start giving me answers for my questions in the episode. And you can continue interacting with them through your microphone, everything you want. And after you finish with your interactions, that audio can be also downloaded if you want to, and you can share that audio with others as well. Let me see if I have an option here. I think this one, I think. Yeah, this one has already a generated audio. Let me share this with you so you can hear a little bit of the audio. Yeah. So this is the audio that was generated. This is talking about an introduction to Notebook. As you can see, there are many sources that were uploaded, documents with the information, and the audio was generated already. So let me give you just a couple of seconds so you hear.
Ever feel like you're just drowning in information?
Oh, tell me about it.
We're talking research papers, articles,
Yeah.
like even a whole shelf of books on one topic.
Right.
And you just need to like get a handle on it all.
It's a struggle.
Yeah. And there's got to be a better way.
Oh, there definitely is.
Well, that's what we're diving into today.
Okay.
Notebook LM.
Interesting.
It's this experimental AI research assistant thing Google's come.
Okay, so that's only a couple of seconds. I just wanted you to hear it. So those are the type of audios that will be generated. As you can see, it's a conversation between a man and a woman, as I said. And now you can also interact with the podcast episode, and you can just keep as many notebooks as you want. You can have that information here ready, and you can create new notebooks. And one of the things I wanted to share with you is how you can share your notebook. For example, you can click share. I do have a group in my organization, for example, that includes all employees. So what if I want to share with all employees in my company as viewers only? And here at the bottom, I will say that instead of having access to my full notebook, I don't want them to be able to play around with my sources, because what if they just mess up with my sources and they just ruin my notebook? Okay, so instead, I can just say chat only and send. Copy the link, and I can use the link to paste it anywhere I want. So what will be the difference here? That instead of seeing the whole notebook, they will be able to see only what's in the center, only to chat. And of course, you have access to analytics. So after 7 days, you can have information here of what type of information they're getting, what's the most frequently asked questions, things like that you can get here. Let me show you an example of a notebook that was shared with me only as chat. I think it's this one here. So I want you to see the difference. This is what I see. I'm not the owner of this notebook. It was shared with me, as I just showed you with the example of chat only. So I can only ask things here, but I will not be able to see the sources, and I don't have the tools on the right side either. So I can only ask and get information. But imagine how many things you can solve internally in your organization by just creating notebooks. What's important here now, of course, is making sure from the very beginning that there's only an official version of this notebook, because Everyone in the company will be able to create a notebook and add whatever sources they want. But of course, you need to make official announcements as to which one is the official notebook that they need to visit if they want to get updated information. And of course, you need to delegate and make sure that the right person has the power to update the sources. So if it's related to internal policies, maybe you can give the power through a document. Remember that we saw that one of the sources that we can upload is a document. So you can use actually a live document that you share through Drive with the human resources team. Maybe they don't have the power to manage the notebook per se, but they do have the power to update the document through Drive. And that tells you for sure that the notebook, it's being fed by this document that's live, and that the human resources team is actually taking care of keeping that updated. So that's how usually it will work. But as you can see, you can share then the chat with the rest of the organization. Whenever they have a question about internal procedures or policies, they can just chat with it. And remember, notebooks can be shared only with internal users. They cannot be shared with external users at all. So that's another important thing, to keep it private. With this one, we're getting to the end of the session. I saw a couple of questions that you shared at the beginning, so I'll try to answer those as soon as possible here. Okay. So how do I use Notebook LM in Google Workspace? Okay, all you have to do is go into notebooklm.google.com. But first, you need to make sure it has been enabled through the administrative console, because if it has not been enabled, then of course you will not be able to use that one. So that's the answer for that. Is Gemini 2.0 out now? If so, when would it be available in Google Workspace? Right now, it's going to a beta version. I don't know if you noticed, but right now, if you go into Gemini, it's actually giving you, let me share my screen here. It's giving you a 2.0 version, but Flash. This is not the definite version. Here on top, it says Gemini Advanced Flash. This is not the definite version, because it's supposed to be 2.0 Pro instead of 2.0 Flash. So it's out there, but this is in a beta version, and we don't have a specific date as to when the final 2.0 Pro it's being released. We purchased licenses of Gemini AI in 2024. What will happen to that? Will that be refunded? My recommendation in this case, it's for you to contact your customer success manager. There's a specific person assigned to your account in Easters Capital. I don't know who that person might be, but the person that you have contact with whenever you do renewals or whenever you do the purchase of that license, and they can help you with it. They will tell you what are the steps and what will happen exactly. I don't have an answer for you on that, because that's not my area of expertise, but get in touch with that person as soon as possible so they can guide you through the process and let you know what will happen next. That was the last question we got. So thank you very much for joining today. Thank you for being part of this huge change. Make sure you share the good news with the rest of the company as soon as possible. And also, one of the important things we ask, make sure you start training people, letting them understand the benefits and working with a secure and private artificial intelligence rather than a free of charge. That means risk. Make sure you do it as soon as possible, because as I said, people is curious and they just want to try it. They don't really care, and they don't pay a lot of attention to that, especially because they don't have the right knowledge. So that's why you play a very important role here, just to convey this message to the rest of the company as soon as possible. And also make sure they are trained on how to prompt, because at the end of the day, prompting is the key aspect to take advantage of this powerful tool. So thank you again for your time. We really appreciate your business with us. We're here to continue supporting you and helping you through the process. So do not hesitate on contacting us if you need further assistance, if you need further training for your employees, for whatever matter. Contact us through your customer success manager, as I said, and that will be the right person that will guide you through the process and getting everything you need. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, and see you on another session in the future. Bye now.